Jam. Toon Jam.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Toon Jam. I am Matt.
And I'm J-Man.
And today we are heading to a galaxy far, far away as we watch Star Wars Ewoks. Have you seen Star Wars Ewoks? Well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Let me tell you a bit about it. Ewoks, also known as Star Wars Ewoks, is a 1985 to 86 American-Canadian Taiwanese animated television series featuring Ewok characters introduced in Star Wars Return of the Jedi and further explored in Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure, and its sequel Ewoks, The Battle of Endor. The series was produced by Nelvana on behalf of Lucasfilm and broadcast on ABC, originally with its sister series, Droids, as part of the Ewoks and Droids Adventure Hour, a good creative name there, and then by itself as the all-new Ewoks. So there's 2 seasons with 26 episodes or 34 segments, so obviously not all of them were, there, but the series focused on the adventures of Wicket W. Warwick, who is sort of the main Ewok from Return of the Jedi. Obviously, the name Warwick, I'm guessing, referring to Warwick Davis, the actor who played him, and his friends on the forest moon of Endor before the events of the original Star Wars film and the Caravan of Courage. Unlike the Ewok films, the characters speak English instead of their native language, though Ewokese phrases and songs are occasionally used. The primary recurring villains are Morag the Tulga Witch, who had a personal grudge against the tribe's shaman, Master Logray, and the Juloks, a rival species that is related to the Ewoks. The penultimate episode, Battle for Sunstar, which was re-aired as the series finale, shows the Ewok heroes leaving the forest moon's surface when they go aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer that has travelled to their system. An Imperial scientist attempts to destroy the Emperor, whose shuttle makes an appearance. The episode has been noted as forming a link with Return of the Jedi, which features the Empire using Endor as its base of operations in the second Death Star. As far as reception is concerned, according to Dave Perlmutter, Ewoks was, and this is a quote, unremarkable both technically and creatively, end quote. So not a great review for him. Screen Rant says the series was made at a time when television executives had no idea what constituted good children's animated television, comparing it to series like The Smurfs, Snorks, or Care Bears. Sci-Fi Wire calls the series more a marketing ploy for Lucasfilms than a worthwhile extension for the franchise, designed to sell toys, cereals, and action figures. There mentions that it featured a few surprisingly entertaining installments that appealed to both parents and kids, particularly the penultimate episode, The Battle for Sunstar. Some controversy has resulted from the Ewoks' apparently mastery of English, while appearing not to speak the language in the Ewok films or Return of the Jedi, which is set some years later. That being said, though, this show would be completely different if none of them spoke English.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why people have to be so pedantic. You're just like, can you not just say it's translated just for your sake? Jeez, chill out. Fun fact, elements from the series are featured in Star Wars reference media, such as a guide to the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars Encyclopedia. A Julok was shown on Coruscant in Chapter 21 of the 2D animated Clone Wars series. And Ewoks was excluded from canon status in 2014, but some elements appear in the canon Ultimate Star Wars and later reference books and the canon web series Star Wars Forces of Destiny.
Mm.
So there you go. So some of it is actually canon,
Wow.
but most of it isn't, apparently.
Yeah.
It was developed by Paul Dini and Bob Carroll. Paul Dini, you will no doubt know from Batman the Animated Series, Tiny Toons. Didn't he do loads of He-Man stuff as well?
Yeah, possibly.
I believe he did. He's done so much.
He's
seen
about
something,
the place, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Superman Animated Series, the Justice League, all of those kind of ones he did. Well, yeah. So there you go. There's a bit of information about it. Had you ever seen this before?
No, it never come up really. Like I think I dodged it for many a year.
Yeah.
Not on purpose, just because it never. I think it's just recently arrived on Disney Plus, hasn't it?
Yeah. So this is when the first time I'd seen it. I remember as a kid, I knew that there was a cartoon series of Ewoks, and I knew that they had films as well.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen them, and I was desperate to watch them because I loved Star Wars, but never ever got to. So when I saw they'd all come onto Disney Plus, even at my age now, I was secretly excited. So I've now seen Caravan of Courage, which is set after this. Apparently, these are a prequel series,
right?
But there's stuff from this that's in that.
Right.
And I'm guessing the next film as well. I've not seen that one yet. So I had the benefit of knowing some of the stuff from the films that existed, but I hadn't watched this yet. So, but yeah, it was pretty fresh. Other than that,
yeah.
And obviously, you've seen Star Wars.
Yeah. Being a fairly new Star Wars enjoyer, I'm. All I've kind of known about Ewoks is that like there's other stuff available, but it's kind of like not spoken of. It's like the black market Star Wars stuff.
That's it. It was a dirty secret.
Yeah.
That now Disney is airing. Maybe it's because everyone gives Disney a bad rep for the Star Wars stuff, the new Star Wars films. So they were like, well, look at what was made before.
That's it. This is when it was in its prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there you go. But it's there, there to watch. So if you've got Disney Plus, you can check it out. Okay. Well, what's Twitter saying about Ewoks?
There's a lot of people who seem to be enjoying some nostalgia, and a lot of people who are like me and you discovering it for the first time to some surprises. So we've got Darb Creative, who says the Ewoks cartoon theme sure is something.
Oh man, I can't wait to get onto that.
Yeah.
It really is something.
It is something. That is true. I mean, that is a great description, because there's definitely something there that should be supported, and that's backed up by the Matt Prof, who says, if you skip the intro to the Ewoks cartoon on Disney Plus, you should be arrested.
So he's a real fan of it.
Yeah.
But for what reasons, we will find out.
Yeah. We've also got Mason T. Becker, who says, we're watching the Ewoks cartoon from the 1980s on Disney Plus. Never saw it as a kid. I find it kind of creepy, but our 4-year-old is enjoying it, so that shows what I know about cartoons.
Wow. I don't think they'd be alone in that.
No, I think the consensus is closer to creepy than it is.
Yeah. But I do think, and I mean, you know my ever-changing opinion on the 80s.
Yeah, the evolving 80s.
Yeah. No matter what, the 80s were creepy. Like, as far as 80s fantasy, it is a bit creepy.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a weirdness. There's definitely a weirdness. We've also got Dottie Maggie, who says, you know what was great? The Ewoks cartoon. And I don't know if that's phrased as a hilarious joke, or as like a fun fact.
Yeah,
But,
so
everyone
we
out
don't
there,
actually know their opinion.
no,
There's
don't
no
know the
hashtag
context of that one.
sarcasm or hashtag genuine opinion on there,
Yeah,
so we just don't know.
still up in the air on that one, but it's good to be out there. Good to
I
be
mean,
out
that says a lot, the fact that you're actually even thinking you're not sure they're being sarcastic. Because if someone put like, I don't know, watching the greatest show ever, and it was, say, I don't know, Breaking Bad,
Yeah,
you won't be like, oh, another comment of
that's it. Another
sarcasm.
Twitter comedian.
Yeah. So that says a lot about the show.
It does, yeah. And we've got one final one from a colorblind kid who said, I watched the first episode of the Ewoks cartoon show, and it is quite possibly the worst TV show I have ever seen.
Oh boy. They could be being sarcastic though.
I know, is that the hilarious joke? It's so nice.
So there you go. I mean, it's possible we've got some matching opinions, some very different opinions there.
Yeah.
Seems a bit like a Marmite kind of show.
Yeah, it's very polarizing, Ewoks, it seems.
Yeah. It's definitely got its own feel to it. Okay, let's dig in and let's hit that theme tune. Let's talk about that, because what a way to start a show.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, we love a theme tune on Toon Chan, and I mean this. Yeah. I mean, even when maybe the melody isn't fantastic or it's not particularly memorable, we always love how much effort is put into the theme tune.
Oh man, yeah. The thought, and you've got something here. They could have easily just used some sort of music that already existed from Star Wars or from Caravan of Courage or whatever they did.
Yeah.
Even if it was just something similar, but no, they made their own thing.
Yeah.
And it was it kind of went like the Ewoks.
Yeah.
The there was like no real the tune. I can't even.
No, I can't remember it at all. I just remember someone
into my head. Ewoks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it was being sung by like a dial-up computer almost.
Yeah.
Like really trying to get those E's out.
Yeah.
It's almost like they were trying to fit it into the sort of like the frame of all the other shows, but they've all got longer names. So they just had Ewoks. So they were like, how do we make this fit the syllables of the normal TV theme?
Just keep repeating.
Yeah. It's the Ewok.
And that's the thing, it doesn't sound anything like it doesn't sound anything like anything other than an 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like Star Wars. It doesn't sound like an Ewok, at least Ewok part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
It just sounds like generic 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
So, and that's this whole soundtrack throughout the entire thing.
And
it's so easy. There's one bit where in this episode they get arrested into an Ewok prison, which is just some hummocks, and one of them is playing some sort of saxophone. Don't know if you remember the bit.
I don't remember that.
It's like a horn saxophone, because he's sad. He's like just playing it on the top, like as he's in his hammock.
What?
And I was just like, this couldn't be more bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the theme tune really sets you up for the quality.
You know where you stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the characters from what we got in this episode, obviously you've got Wicket. He's like your good guy, just general good guy. He's got, I don't know the names. He's got a mate that's like a naughty Ewok.
Yeah.
And one that's just like he can seem to do anything. Like he can hypnotize animals.
Yeah.
And I don't really know much more about him than that, but he seems to be the fix everything guy. Then there's a lot of parents and adults, or they're called aunties and uncles, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they just tell them off all the time. And essentially, there's a couple of female Ewoks. We only see one of them really. Well, you see the auntie, and then there's one of their mates. I think there's another one in the main cast.
There's a younger one as well. Yeah,
we didn't really see. I think she was like maybe flying around a bit on one of them
glider thing.
Yeah. So the glider's from Caravan of Courage.
Right.
Which I would highly recommend watching for extreme laughs. It's got some pretty creepy. I mean, that's creepy. If you think this is creepy, like that is really creepy, because it's got some really strange sort of monsters in it. But a lot of the monsters in the woods, they're horrible, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like these like weird skeletal spider things.
Yeah, they were upsetting. I was that scene where the sort of the evil, the witch lady or whatever, she sort of like conjures them up and they all walk away. I was like, this is the scene that would disturb the children, and they'd want it turned off at this point.
More rag.
Yeah.
It's got a sort of feel of like, it's a bit like Dark Crystal meets the Care Bears.
Yeah.
So it's got all the weirdness of Dark Crystal and the stuff that's really scary as a kid, but they're like Care Bears.
Yeah. Pretty much all the characters are just Care Bears.
And it's the same art style, really, isn't it? As Care Bears, which is that really 80s art style. And it's one of the main reasons I've never liked the 80s before. It's because of this art style.
And it doesn't really help in the situation either, because like there's like the style of the Ewoks is very busy, isn't it? Like, they're all wearing like multiple things with like, satchels and bags, and like they live in a bunch of trees, and like it just looks very visually noisy all the time, I think. Like it's like,
and they're always doing something, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, as in, they're like, you've got your main guys that are just doing something like, I don't know, washing a bull. And then there's everyone around them seems to be doing something else that's really important, but you don't know what it is. Like there's some sort of ritual or something like that in the background.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine a show about important things, but you didn't see them.
Yeah. You were just doing nonsense with the kids.
Yeah.
Playing a bit of Drop the Sack.
Yeah. Which is a genuine game they play, Drop the Sack.
Yeah.
Which is, as far as I can tell, sacks of poo.
Yeah.
That you drop on each other from a tree, and it's been banned because it's dangerous.
Yeah. Gross mainly, I would say.
Yeah.
But, dangerous apparently.
Well, I mean, you don't know what's in the poo.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Just one of them comes out blind.
Yeah, all sorts of infections. Don't drop poo on people, kids. It's not cool.
No, that is an absolute no-go.
There's a good reason why we don't do that, as a recreational activity.
I mean, speaking of, the morals in this are there. Don't drop poo.
Yeah.
There's a big sort of forest fire thing going on in this first episode. How you have to be careful in the woods because it's dry. Yeah. They could easily start a forest fire. You can see those undertones, which, living in the UK, it's not something you ever really taught.
No.
Because it's always wet.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to worry about forest fires.
No.
At least at the moment, maybe in like 5 years' time when, the world ends.
Yeah. Then everything's a forest fire.
Yeah, it's like, well, at least everyone will be watching Ewoks to learn.
Yeah, that's it as well.
It's the only way.
In the day one pack of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Ewoks episode 1.
Who knows what the other episodes hold?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it did ring. It was like, oh man, this is like, it's like it was set in California now. The episode. It's like, oh man, there's just forest fires everywhere, and then like all the water's dried up. So they can't even use that.
Yeah. Australia, anyone?
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Remember that?
That's it. So, basically what you need to do is get like a magic foam. You brew in a pot hours before the potential forest fire, and then you kind of put that in the sacks that you used to put poo in,
Yeah.
and then
Get the hang gliders out.
get the hang gliders out and just start lobbing them everywhere.
And I mean that was a really progressive moment. There's sort of, so the forest fires are started by the witch whose name is escaping me once again. Oh, Morag.
Morag, yeah.
Because she hates Master Logray. But I thought we were going to actually get like why she hates him, because she kept saying she hated him, and it's like, okay, there's obviously some history. And then this is it a Duloc that comes up to her?
Yeah, I think so.
This weird like cat kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's like asking, why do you hate them so much? And she's like, you could say we're old friends, and that's it. That's all you get.
That's it. Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, you could have given us some meaty backstory then.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it just added more confusion, because it was like, well, wouldn't that mean you didn't hate them if you were
old friends?
What?
I mean, he just wanted, what did he want? Some sort of cure for itching or something?
Something like that, yeah. Something else we probably didn't need to know or care about. But yeah, so she sort of like entices these fairy things that are floating about, right? The little
so they're in the Caravan of Courage.
Right.
Those little fairy things. So that was like a callback to the film. But she basically turned the queen of them. She makes it go on fire, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Burning down the entire woods. And then obviously they need the foam and whatnot to put it out. And another moral in it is sort of boy who cried wolf moment.
Oh yeah, that's like the whole episode.
Yeah, so we missed that. Drop the sack. The auntie's like, what happened? And then naughty Ewok is like, something was flying overhead, and it pooed on you or whatever.
Yeah. And
then obviously they saw through his lie straight away. But as soon as he said, the forest is on fire, they were like, yeah, what are you going to tell us next? The forest is on fire? Yeah.
You're one of those Twitter comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, hashtag sarcasm. I get it. So yeah, it didn't go well. That's something that I actually thought was actually pretty good. And it was only after watching it for a little bit, because at first I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like exactly what I'd expect. But the voice acting, and stay with me because I know you've already thought, what is he on about? Because their voices actually did sound like Ewok voices.
Right.
Because they say the odd word in Ewokese.
Yeah, which is I think that's like an 80s classic as well, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
every 80s show has like the localized language of whatever creature you're watching, and they always slip words in, Smurf style. So but then they say it, and you're like, actually, if they spoke English, that is what they'd sound like. Right.
And the more I listened, the more I was like, I actually have a lot of appreciation for Jim Henshaw and so on, because they actually did a really good job on it, and they will never ever be praised for it. So here is your praise.
Yeah, I think this is what you've been waiting for.
This is what you've been waiting for. The cast of Ewoks. Yeah. Well played.
There you go.
And as well, it was, like you say, it was creepy, and I think that was in no way. It wasn't like they did a really good job of making it creepy, like the villains. Like Morag, the witch, she was pretty good. She was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Good character. Looked horrible.
Was horrible. Yeah.
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 So there was definitely, I felt there was more to it than at first when I thought, when I'd seen E. I was pleasantly surprised overall.
Right.
That being said, it was quite hard going.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like the constant 80s sort of like soundtrack in the background, or like the busy look of everything mixed with like just a palette of brown. like brown and some greens in there, and then just I guess the voices were quite high pitched and a bit you wouldn't want to listen to these voices all the time. It was just there's like a certain tone there. It's sort of like imagine like the brown note but for just pain. That's kind of underneath all of their voices somehow. Well played to the sound engineer who managed to get that to work out, because it's well done.
Could have all been playing a game of drop the bag.
All of that together, I mean, I felt like I was in a state of like tension watching throughout the show. I couldn't explain it. It's just like when the credits rolled and I turned it off, like my shoulders relaxed, and like I sort of like sat back and my pulse went down. It was like I was in fight or flight for the whole episode for some reason. Don't know why, but I couldn't fully relax. Couldn't really sit back and enjoy it. So I'd say trigger warning going in. Maybe that could happen to you.
It's creepy. It's got something creepy about it, hasn't it?
There's something there. Yeah, something weird. It's the 80s-ness of it. It's just there's an oddness there that's hard to understand. Like.
That's it, and I think I've called it before, like dirty fantasy, dirty sci-fi. Like it's got that feel to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Right, it's just a bit like
uncanny.
Yeah. Do you know what it's like? It's like it is like a grim version of the Gummy Bears.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Dark gummy bears.
Yeah, dark gummy bears. That's what this is.
Yeah, it really is. Because I mean, they all have like the similar style and stuff. They live out in the woods and they're brewing stuff all the time. I mean, they're making that gummy berry juice all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just them, but in trees, in high trees. But there's just it doesn't feel anywhere near as cozy as Gummy Bears, does it? Like
no. There's some. Well, I mean, Gummy Bears. It's almost like when they made Gummy Bears, they watched this and were like, it's got something, but they've not done it right. And then they just made Gummy Bears, because even what they wear is like pretty.
Oh yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah.
It is just like Gummy Bears is like a nice version of Ewoks.
I mean, when I saw Paul Dini's credit on the start, I was like, oh man, so does that mean we're in for something like there could be a little bit of darkness hidden in there? And I mean, it was a little bit creepy, but it wasn't it wasn't disturbing in any way, or it didn't make me want to well up with tears or anything. But it was. I think the story was instead, fairly. It was a fairly standard first episode. I think you don't really get to know the characters that well, for saying.
No,
I mean, you kind of know what their deal is, I guess.
Yeah, you kind of get to know sort of main. Well, not even the main ones, but a couple of the main ones.
Yeah.
And what they're about, and you can't. You get that relationship between sort of the villain and the Ewoks. Some of the older Ewoks you kind of meet as well. But this is old school, isn't it? Where you just did an episode.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
And you sort of get that, there's the tribalism to the Ewoks and there's ceremony and all that kind of stuff, because they have like a little, before the forest fire starts, they're doing a little ceremony, aren't they? And like bringing some of the young ones up or whatever. They all get the like hoods.
Yeah. And you've got to remember as well, there's a lot of stuff. So this was technically a spin-off of the Ewok films.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of stuff that they probably were like, they've taken from those films as an established. So you were already expected to know what those fairy things were.
Yeah.
And things like that because you'd watched those films.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you're not going to be blown away by the story. I mean, like even like the sort of foreshadowing wasn't particularly great either, because like we've got like this scene like a good couple of minutes in where they're just making something and it's like, well, what's this for? And the other guy's like, well, if the forest were to burn down, this was what we'd use to put it out. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I mean, yeah. cool. What a strange situation for you to bring up out of the blue like that. But okay, yeah, we'll do that. And like overall, I think it's strange how it doesn't feel like Star Wars at all, does it? Like I don't think you could watch Star Wars and then be like, oh, I'll check this out because I'll get the same feeling out of it. Like I don't.
Yeah, but that's and I know I keep mentioning it. So when I watched the Caravan of Courage, that's very much like that. Right. So it does feel similar to that. But when you watch that, that's kind of like that has the music, so it kind of brings you back. Remember that and you're like, oh yeah, and then the entire story is like, this is so weird that this takes place in a Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
almost. It does feel like those films.
Right. So it's like 2 steps away, almost like.
Yeah.
Because you could watch this like if you didn't know Ewoks were part of Star Wars, you could watch this and be like, oh, it's just some weird 80s cartoon. There's nothing really to tie it in. Like,
no. Yeah, it's just, it's its own thing, isn't it?
Yeah, which I mean, I guess could work if you have like kids and you don't want them watching Star Wars. You can give them Ewoks and be like, well, it's almost completely unrelated. So could work. It could work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now we've discussed it a bit. Shall we head over and make our reviews? Welcome, sports fans, to another amazing event, the Ewok Games here on Endor.
It's time for Foot Sack, one of our favourite games, where you take a sack, fill it with poo, and then you kick it to one another into a giant sack of poo, and those with the most poo lose.
That's right. And then we have Throw Sack, where you throw the sack in a circle to each other, and when the sack bursts, you lose. It's full of poo.
It's full of poo, just like Stick Sack, where we use even smaller sacks with even smaller amounts of poo, and we hit them to one another. And if your stick bursts the sack, you lose.
And it's followed by Hit Sack, a giant sack filled with poo, and you keep hitting it, and when the sack bursts, you're the one to lose.
You're going to lose if you're covered in poo, and you don't just lose the game, but sometimes your eyesight.
Oh, that's right. And of course, back for a very special one-off, because it has been banned, but not today, Drop Sack. And as you know, Drop Sack, you run around and people drop bags of poo at you, and if you get hit, you lose.
You lose.
Covered in poo.
When you're covered in the poos, it's time for you to lose.
That's right. So join us here for the Ewok Games on ESPN. That's right. Ewok Games. Nukchuk. Inoto nukchuk. Ino chakana no. Ana oh. Okay, so here at Toon Jam, we have a 3-point rating system that goes as follows. Thumbs up, keeping that forest fireless. Learning the lessons. Come on, guys. Thumbs down. You've been hit by a sack of poo. And shaky middle, whoever would invent that game. So good, bad, meh in the middle, meh. It's okay. It's okay. Mediocre. Okay, so Ewoks, episode 1, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, opening with not the best theme tune I've ever heard by any means. We've got a theme that's definitely, like you said, something. There's something there, and I mean this is just the start of what you're about to experience. It's very, very painfully 80s. And I mean, if you really like that, you might be into it. But for me, it was the poo sacks of the 80s just stretched out for 20 minutes here. It doesn't really. I didn't really enjoy the way that it looked. Didn't really enjoy the voices, although they might have been accurate to what the Ewok sounds like, but
I
I
mean,
don't
yeah,
think it.
I'm giving them the praise they deserve.
Yeah, yeah, they finally got the praise, so fair play on that one. But yeah, I think listening to it for such a long time, it just wasn't particularly enjoyable. Story wise, it was fairly I mean it did have some morals in there, so that's good. We had some environmentalism in there, which was good back then, especially.
Yeah.
But there was some weirdness to it. There's an unshakable unease in there as well that I just couldn't get rid of. Like I wanted to stop watching it as soon as it come on, and I think all the elements just kept adding on top of that. Like that I wasn't particularly gripped by what was happening, and there's just loads of weird other things like poo games, and it just wasn't an enjoyable experience for me overall. Like I feel like one day I'm going to look back at this and be like, yeah, that was a traumatic time of my life that I went through,
Yeah.
and I've tried to forget that. And so as a result, I can't really recommend it to anyone, and I certainly will not be putting myself through more of it. I think that me and my future therapist are gonna probably have a few more talks about this, but
Yeah.
Ewoks for me, that's going to have to be a thumbs down.
Oh boy! So the down has finally hit us.
Yes.
It's been a couple of weeks now. We talked last week about our 3-week streak. But what did I think of it? It's a difficult one. Because I'm trying to battle the sort of inner child that just really wanted to watch this. But then again, like, should I battle that? Isn't that the point? And I think, when you think about who it's aimed at, it's aimed at kids. There's nothing in it that you think like, how many stuff do you watch sort of from this era where you think like, yeah, probably wouldn't show kids that now.
Yeah.
Because all it's doing is, teaching them old values.
Yeah.
But in this, they're pretty, universal morals. They've got all that going on. The voice acting is just impeccable. It's like flawless. Ewok voices is what they'd sound like. I'm sure of it. Whether it's enjoyable or not is a completely different story. It hit the tone that I was after, and maybe it's because the experience of Caravan of Courage was so strange. And maybe it's because this show, I mean, it deserves nothing less being such a Marmite show as it is. And for those that don't know what a Marmite show is, it means you either love it or you hate it. But I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Oh, whoa.
I know, you weren't expecting it, and I don't think I was either.
Thumbs up for Ewoks.
Everything about it, I shouldn't have liked it. And it does skirt the thumbs up. It is like from middle to thumbs up. But I actually didn't dislike it, and I didn't labour my way through it too much, sort of thing. I wasn't sitting there like, oh, okay, I've had enough now. It was interesting, and I don't know if it's just because I like Star Wars so much.
Yeah.
So it could just be because it's intriguing, because it's part of that, and I'm just like, what's going on? What is this world and stuff like that? But it had sort of those straight. I think the sinister overtone is what kept me in it.
Right.
And I'm sure I've probably given stuff less of a mark that's probably better, and it's not really fair. But hey ho, that's what I'm
just
giving.
How it goes on the day.
That's it. It's all about the day. And there you go. And I think that's a thumbs up and a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Goes by the early reviews anyway.
Yeah.
You're either going to like this show or you're going to hate this show.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, the Matt Reed progression of the 80s is just it's leaps and bounds now.
It's like a toilet, and I'm being flushed around.
It's a full evolution of just 80s.
Do you know what I think the real changer was for me?
What's that?
I've not mentioned it in a while. but it's got to be David the Gnome. What a fantastic! I mean, that's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
If you could have something above thumbs up, that's David the Gnome.
David the Gnome.
So yeah, I think that might have just made everything slightly different for me.
You've seen the world a bit different after you've seen David the Gnome.
Who knew? We saw pictures of it, we watched it, we're like, yeah, it's going to be another hilarious cartoon. But no, it was life-changing. Absolutely. So there you go, a thumbs up and a thumbs down.
Yeah.
You couldn't get more polarizing than that. But what did you think about it at home? You can let us know on the 3 poo bags of the internet, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at ToonJamPod. And let us know what you think, because we're always curious as to what everyone else is thinking. Maybe you agreed with us, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were just a firm, shaky middle. You're like, no, it wasn't that good. The voice acting was shaky middle at best. You let us know. We're not always right, and we've all got our own opinions. Also, maybe there's something you want us to watch. Maybe you're like, this show, you've not even touched it.
Yeah.
Send us a recommendation, and we'll add it to our list. If you want to get more bonus episodes, you can do so on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/ToonJamPod. We've got merchandise on our store, which is bit.ly/ToonJamShop. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to rate and review us. It really helps us out. It helps other people find us as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, you stay jammy.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. If you want to help the show keep going, you can be extra jammy by heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/ToonJamPod. Here you can get a shout out on the show or unlock bonus episodes. Ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the podcast also really help us out. So thank you, and stay jammy.